New Ocrevus users often ask me how I'm doing on the medication right before they try it themselves. In this line of questioning, recently diagnosed patients also often ask their doctors, so now that I got MS, what's the right treatment course for me? Well, after listening to Jon Strum's Real TalkMS podcast the other day, which I highly recommend you subscribe to if you have multiple sclerosis to stay engaged with the latest and greatest in MS news, his guest, Dr. Ellen Mowry of Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, articulates an answer to this question in one of the best ways I've heard when she said, there is no direct evidence to demonstrate that a specific treatment strategy is most effective. In fact, Dr. Mowry is running a clinical trial and working to find an answer to this question right now as we speak. The study is working to understand a number of things about the efficacy of multiple sclerosis medications, but a bird's eye view on the whole thing is there are over 900 people in the study so far, and it's specifically looking to find if there are any benefits for people newly diagnosed with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis to start with the strongest medication straight out the gate right after diagnosis, knowing that the medication could also be associated with some increased risks in terms of how they're going to be doing several years down the line. Something else they're also working on figuring out is it reasonable to start out with the milder, perhaps safer medication option and then escalate or change to the stronger medicine if the first approach doesn't work? This is fantastic work that they're doing because there are over 15 multiple sclerosis drugs on the market today, and each have their pros and their cons, and studies like this help clarify how newly diagnosed people get offered disease-modifying therapies and how to more effectively treat people with MS. So what they're doing is looking at recently diagnosed people and essentially flipping a coin between treating them with the stronger multiple sclerosis medication or a more lower risk first-time medication and evaluating whether that decision has an influence on disability at the end of the study. Perhaps there's not a one-size-fits-all approach to taking medications for MS, or perhaps one could start treatment on a more mild therapy and gradually escalate to a stronger therapy, or folks could start out with the big guns right out the gate. There are a few other questions they're looking for an answer to, and to find out what those are, check out episode 96 of the Real TalkMS podcast, because Jon and Dr. Mowry go into deep detail. And when I heard about it on the podcast, it was something that I wanted to talk about here, because some of the folk who watch this channel are newly diagnosed patients trying to figure out which way is up, and they just want to get better and feel normal again. I understand. And I want to highlight how getting a med and feeling better really isn't a thing. MS isn't a cold that could be treated with penicillin in one shot like, there you go, buddy, now you ain't sick no more. It's a complex disease that's different in each different individual, so it's going to take an individual approach to help people be healthy again. There is no MS silver bullet as far as I know, and I've never heard explained why so clearly than in this episode of the podcast. It was released July 1, 2019, and as of then, they were still recruiting folks to participate in 45 sites throughout the country. So check out the podcast if you want to try to be a part of the study. We all want a magic bullet to take the MS away, but science hasn't given us that yet. For now, the biggest things that we have for feeling better are a choice of disease-modifying therapies, lifestyle and diet changes, meditation, getting a lot of good sleep, etc., etc. Ocrevus is a wonderful drug for myself and thousands of other people. However, remember there's still a lot of science that's trying to be figured out about MS in general. If you don't have the red flags for using Ocrevus, then it's definitely worth considering. But I highlighted all of this to help folks keep in mind that everything is different for everyone. Scientists are still working to try to figure it all out and patch you up and get you a little farther down the road of life. In my case, I'm elated to be using a drug that I only have to take twice a year and not store in my house. But the things that make me feel better day to day, minute to minute, are not the disease-modifying therapies, but all the other changes I've made in my life, just like the ones I mentioned before. I'm trying to tell you, homie, lifestyle changes are the real wonder drug. Okay, bye!